have gotten into an argument or a fight before with like our parents, our siblings, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And I know we can all think of a fight where it just turned into back and forth argument. You start fighting about things that you didn't even start fighting about before, and it just seems like it's never going to end. So today, I'm going to teach you all how to be effective communicators so we can avoid those bigger fights. There are 3 components to being an effective communicator. 1 is the message that's being sent, 2 are nonverbal communication, and 3 is not avoiding conflict. So first is the message that we send. According to David Olson in Marriages and Families from 2011, in every message sent, there is the sender who is saying the message to a receiver in a certain situation, which is a context. And this is called the communication theory. There are 2 aspects to this in the message. There's the content, which is the literal word-for-word message, and the command, which is how the message is conveyed and perceived. When we're saying a message, we need to be very careful about the intent behind the message. So a lot of the times when we get into trouble is we say things like, you suck, and like, you never do this, you never do this. So instead, in our message, we want to use I statements instead of you statements. So instead of saying, you suck, you just sit there and do nothing all day, you would say, it makes me feel sad when you sit there and don't talk to me because then I feel ignored by you. So then you're taking partial, owning up to your feelings, and so you're not putting all the blame on them, and they realize that what you're doing is actually, what they're doing is actually affecting you. So we need to be very careful about what we're saying in our message so it gets across clearly and they understand that what they're doing. The second component is our nonverbal communication. According to Jennifer Wilson in How to Become an Effective Communicator Verbally and Nonverbally, 65 to 85% of our communication is nonverbal. Most people pay attention more to our nonverbal communication rather than the actual words that are being said. When we get into trouble is when our verbal communication conflicts with our nonverbal communication and we get mixed signals. I know all of you have gotten mixed signals from people before. And so it's hard when they conflict because what the person is saying is different from what they're actually doing. So examples of nonverbal communication are our pitch and tone and speed of voice, also our volume, and then facial expressions, body gestures, eye movements, and eye contact. So it's important that we make eye contact while we talk to people because then they know that we're actually listening to them and not ignoring them and off in our own world. And also another big thing is just touch. If you just put your hand on someone's shoulder or something when you're talking to them, they'll know that you're really listening to them and knowing what they're saying. So it's very important to be aware of our nonverbal communication and what we are doing while we are actually talking to this person. The third aspect is we do not want to avoid conflict. According to Judy Capco in How to Communicate Effectively with Your Staff, we don't want to avoid conflict because when we ignore all the little problems, it ends up leading to one big problem just exploding instead of addressing the little thing right away. A lot of people don't like conflict and avoid it because they think it's scary and they think that we're not supposed to have conflict, but in reality, conflict is a healthy sign of a relationship because it means you're talking about what you think is going right and wrong, and so it's actually way better for us to talk about the little things before they all build up and explode into one big thing, and we end up getting in those huge fights that never seem to end. So these 3 aspects can be used in your daily life to help you become a more effective communicator. You can use these with anyone you talk to, your friends, your parents, and if we pay attention to these 3 things, we can become very effective in our communication.